Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That restless energy moving through you, the one that feels like anticipation mixed with fear, do not suppress it. Because what you just activated has left heaven in a rare and thunderous silence. It all shifts now. The stagnation, the waiting, the unanswered questions. But hear this clearly, because this is the part that changes everything. It is not shifting because of coincidence. It is shifting because of what you have done. Think back to that moment this week when something inside you moved differently. When you made a choice that felt small, maybe even desperate, but you made it anyway. You chose to believe one more time when everything around you was screaming that it was over. You did not know it then, but that single act of faith shook the courts of heaven so violently that even the angels went still. You did not delay your promise, you detonated it. God cleared everything from your path today, every distraction, every detour, every noise, just to make sure this message found you at this exact second. So steady your spirit, because I am about to tell you what you just set into motion. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here, the Most High did. This is a divine appointment that was written before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are not stumbling through a season, you are standing at the edge of a verdict. Stay until the very last word of this message, because in the next few minutes, I am going to show you the exact moment you activated something heaven had been waiting on you to trigger. I'm going to walk you through the spiritual audit that reveals why God has gone silent, not in disappointment, but in awe. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that locks this activation in permanently, so the enemy cannot reverse what you have already set in motion. Do not click away. The version of you that has been on its knees for months is begging you to stay, because if you leave now, you will walk away from the moment your entire story turns. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere has not simply been quiet, it has been charged, like the stillness that descends right before lightning touches the ground. Maybe you have been moving through your days this week feeling like something enormous is on the edge of happening, but you cannot name it. Like a pressure behind your eyes and a weight on your chest that is not grief and is not dread, but feels like both at once. Or maybe you woke up at 3 in the morning and sat straight up in the dark, heart pounding, and the first thought in your mind was not fear, it was clarity, a knowing so sharp it almost hurt. You feel like you're suspended between two versions of your life, the one that is ending and the one that has been promised. And in that suspended space, the enemy has been working. He has been threading a very specific lie into your thoughts. Listen to what has been playing in the back of your mind. He is telling you that the reason heaven has gone quiet is because you have disqualified yourself. He is replaying a moment from this week, maybe from this month, over and over like evidence. That moment when you pulled back instead of pushing forward. That moment when you chose rest over effort and wondered afterward if you chose wrong. That moment when you said nothing when you could have spoken, or walked away when you could have stayed. The accuser is presenting that moment as your failure. He is filing it as proof that the activation you felt was not real, that the shift was meant for someone else, that you reached for something holy and your hands were too unclean to hold it. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Romans 8:30 says, "And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified." Listen to the weight of that promise. Past tense. Predestined. Called. Justified. Glorified. Every step of your elevation is already finished in the eternal record. The enemy cannot file a charge against a verdict that has already been handed down. He cannot delay a promotion that heaven has already recorded as complete. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are waking up to the fact that you already were. The silence you feel from God right now is not abandonment. It is not disappointment. It is not the sound of heaven turning away. It is the sound of God watching what he built finally come online. The heaviness you are carrying is not the weight of punishment. It is the weight of power you have not yet learned to carry standing up. You think the moment you pulled back was weakness. You think your silence, your stillness, your choosing to stop striving was the moment you lost. Let me reframe your entire reality right now. That was not retreat, that was activation. You stopped fighting in the flesh long enough for heaven to fight in the spirit. And what God just set in motion on your behalf in that moment of surrender is so significant, so irreversible, so beyond what the enemy has the authority to stop, that even the courts of heaven went still to witness it. You did not miss your window, you opened it. Hit the like button if this message arrived exactly when you needed it. Drop a comment below and tell me this: what is the one moment this week where you pulled back, went quiet, or chose stillness, and you have been questioning ever since whether that was strength or failure? What you just activated wasn't something you manufactured. It wasn't the result of your striving, your planning, or even your prayers, at least not in the way you think. Something deeper moved. Something ancient stirred. And heaven paused, holding its breath in a moment of profound recognition. Many are called, but few receive the specific instructions meant for their unique path. If your spirit is resonating deeply with this message, if there's a burning within you that feels both powerful and inexplicable, then perhaps the Chosen One's blueprint is the roadmap God meticulously designed, etched with purpose for souls like yours. It's more than just a guide, it includes the complete audiobook, so this profound revelation can accompany you, whispering its truths wherever you go. And as a special grace, there's a bonus ebook, Activating Your Prophet Mantle, for those who feel the unmistakable calling to speak with divine authority, to be a voice for the voiceless. You can find this vital resource in the first pinned comment below, a treasure available for a limited time only, a sacred window of opportunity. Now, let that sink in. Allow it to permeate the very core of your being, because what I'm about to share with you transcends mere motivation. This is a profound reckoning, an unveiling of truths that demand a response. The reason most people never truly embody what they've just experienced, what they've just activated, is because they fail to grasp the intricate tapestry of what transpired before the activation. They don't comprehend the deep, often unseen preparation. And without that foundational understanding, the activation remains a fleeting, isolated moment, rather than the genesis of an unstoppable movement. Here's the first essential truth you need to receive, to fully absorb. That very quality you've mistaken for a weakness, your heightened sensitivity, your inclination towards solitude, that persistent feeling of being fundamentally out of sync with the world around you, that was never a flaw in the divine design. It was an intentional characteristic, a deliberate calibration. God does not craft instruments without first meticulously shaping them for the precise frequency they are meant to resonate with and carry. A violin isn't considered weak because its strings possess the capacity to break. Its exquisite fragility is precisely what allows it to be tuned, to produce harmonies that no other instrument can replicate. You were never broken. You were undergoing a profound and sacred tuning. But here's where this truth delves even deeper. If you found yourself burdened by labels like too much or perpetually feeling not enough, you did not spontaneously generate these perceptions. These were external impositions handed to you by others somewhere along your journey, perhaps in the tender vulnerability of childhood, in the complex dynamics of a significant relationship, or within the structured environment of a faith community. A verdict was passed upon your spirit, a judgment that bore no resemblance to the truth of heaven. Yet you embraced it, and that belief, however false, erected an invisible ceiling. Not because it held any inherent truth, but because human agreement possesses an astonishing, almost alchemical power. Whatever you enter into agreement with, consciously or unconsciously, becomes the operating system of your life. And until you actively revoke that agreement, you will continue to manifest outcomes that mirror the lie, not the luminous truth of who you are. Consider the powerful narrative of Gideon, a man reduced to hiding in a wine press, secretly threshing wheat to shield himself from the marauding enemy. When the angel of the Lord appeared, he didn't acknowledge Gideon's fear with words of pity like, "You poor trembling man." Instead, he declared, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon, surveying his dire circumstances, saw himself as the absolute least. Heaven, however, looking beyond the immediate and perceiving his divine calling, proclaimed him a mighty man of valor. The crucial question isn't which voice was the loudest in Gideon's world. The question, the one that resonates profoundly for you today, is which voice he chose to lend his belief to. And that identical question stands before you now, awaiting your conscious choice. This leads us to a profound realization that eludes the majority. It's not merely the lie you've tacitly agreed with, it's the entire identity you've meticulously constructed as a survival mechanism around that lie. You developed an extraordinary resourcefulness within its confines. You honed specific skills for navigating life from within the self-imposed limitations of a fabricated self. And that survival identity, however agonizing its genesis, became unnervingly familiar. Familiarity and its deceptive comfort fosters complacency. And complacency in turn becomes the very thing you instinctively defend, sometimes even fiercely, against the possibility of your own genuine breakthrough. Your task, therefore, transcends simply dismantling the lie. You must also grieve with deep compassion the version of yourself that emerged as a protector within that falsehood. That persona served a vital purpose in its time, but it was never intended to be your eternal dwelling place. Please remain with me, because what is about to unfold is the very key that unlocks the cycle of limitation. And it's an element most people completely overlook, rendering them incapable of breaking free. Once you genuinely begin to divest yourself of that survival identity, something seemingly counterintuitive occurs. The adversary does not withdraw or diminish his efforts, he intensifies them. This is because profound displacement, a shaking of the old foundations, invariably precedes a divine assignment. Every single instance where God is poised to reposition you for a greater purpose, there arises an initial pressure. It often feels like a relentless attack, but it is, in truth, the potent force of acceleration. The disciples, for instance, struggled to comprehend why a violent storm erupted precisely after Jesus commanded them to set sail for the other side. He gave the clear instruction, and immediately the waters became tumultuous. But here's the crucial element they missed. The storm was never intended to halt their progress. The storm was the crossing. It was the crucible, the very process designed to transport them from one realm of experience to another. Had they retreated, succumbing to the fear, they would have labeled it mere survival. God, however, recognized it for what it was: passage. And this, my friends, is precisely the juncture where so many of you find yourselves right now. You interpreted the escalating difficulty as a definitive sign that you had misinterpreted the divine instruction. You perceived the mounting resistance as irrefutable evidence that the door had been firmly shut. But understand this: the resistance is not a barrier, it is confirmation. The adversary does not expend his formidable energy attacking that which poses no genuine threat. The sheer magnitude of the opposition you encounter in your life is a direct testament to the immense power and significance of what God has intrinsically placed within you. This opposition was not random, it was meticulously targeted. And targeted implies specificity. Specificity, in turn, signifies that you carry something so potent, so potentially disruptive to the established order, that it cannot be allowed to remain unchallenged or unattended. But allow me to present a challenging perspective, because this is precisely where the siren song of comfort can become an insidious trap. You have been earnestly praying for the pressure to be alleviated. You have been pleading with the divine to make the path smoother, less arduous. And there is absolutely nothing inherently wrong with such prayers. God is not unmoved by your struggles and your pain. However, what if the pressure is not a problem to be solved, but rather a force being deliberately applied? What if it is the very pressure needed to shape something that has until now remained unformed? Consider refined gold. It does not implore the crucible's fire to diminish its intensity. It cannot. The fire is performing precisely the task that only intense heat can accomplish. And the substance that emerges on the other side is often unrecognizable in its brilliance and purity compared to what was initially placed within. Not because the gold itself fundamentally changed, but because everything that was never gold, every impurity, was finally and irrevocably consumed and removed. In just a moment, we will illuminate what has been concealed in plain sight, a silent agreement you have been entering into daily, an unconscious covenant that you haven't even recognized as a form of prayer. Because here lies a truth about agreement that many are hesitant to confront. Every single time you meticulously rehearse the narrative of why something is impossible, every instance you vividly replay past rejections, past failures, past wounds, you are making a powerful declaration. You are speaking into your future, but you are using the voice and the vocabulary of your past. And the universe, God, heaven, whatever designation you hold for the divine intelligence, responds to these declarations. It doesn't only acknowledge the fervent declarations made with raised hands on a Sunday morning. It hears with equal or even greater potency the quiet declarations made in the solitude of darkness when no one else is witnessing. Statements like, "This is simply the unalterable reality of my existence. Individuals like me are not destined for such blessings. Perhaps after all, I am not truly chosen." These are prayers, potent and active, and they have been answered, not because the divine desires your suffering, but because agreement functions as a covenant, a sacred pact, and all covenants carry inherent consequences. This is the pivotal point where genuine transformation takes root, because if agreeing with the lies served to construct the ceiling, then agreeing with the truth becomes the mechanism for creating the door. This is not a singular portal you pass through once and are forever free. It is a door that requires your conscious choice every single day, sometimes every single hour, as the echoes of the old narrative attempt to reassert their dominion. The true work is not a solitary dramatic moment of breakthrough followed by eternal liberation. The work is the persistent, unwavering act of choosing the truth, repeated so many times that it begins to overwrite your ingrained operating system. You don't merely receive a new identity, you actively inhabit it. You practice it, you embody it, until it feels more natural, more ingrained than the discarded one. And this practice, this daily, sometimes arduous, sometimes profoundly glorious practice, this is what God observes with unwavering attention. Not your perfection, but your consistent direction. And the moment this understanding clicks into place, everything begins to reorient itself. You cease waiting for the ephemeral feeling of readiness. You stop delaying your steps, contingent upon feeling inherently worthy. You finally grasp that worthiness is not a subjective feeling to be attained. It is a declarative statement, endowed with divine authority. God did not proclaim, "When you feel prepared, then I shall deploy you." He declared, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." This was prior to your experiences, prior to your having anything tangible to offer. Even then, you were already chosen, already designated. The activation you experienced is not something you miraculously earned today. It is something you have finally, consciously, ceased to obstruct. But wait, before you press onward, there is a crucial layer you must perceive. Beneath all the other truths we've explored lies a deeper stratum, a foundational element that will either irrevocably free you or continue to subtly shape your trajectory. The most profound barrier is not the pervasive fear of failure. It is, in fact, the deeply buried fear of what might transpire if you actually succeed. Because success at this elevated level, embracing your divine assignment, walking wholeheartedly in your purpose, becoming the very person heaven has called you to be, this inevitably brings visibility, and visibility, by its very nature, carries inherent risk. The risk of being seen and subsequently misunderstood. The risk of alienating individuals who are only comfortable with the diminished, smaller version of you. The risk of stepping into a calling so vast, so transformative, that you can no longer maintain the pretense of normalcy. Consequently, a subtle yet highly strategic part of your being has been engaged in deliberate self-sabotage. This is not born of laziness, nor is it a manifestation of weakness. It is an act of protection. It has been meticulously orchestrating to keep you just small enough to remain within a perceived zone of safety. And until you can name this internal guardian, until you can look it directly in its often unseen face and declare, "I acknowledge you, but I am moving forward regardless," it will continue to subtly pull the cord just moments before liftoff. This brings us to the ultimate revelation, the peace you likely did not anticipate. It is the understanding that reframes everything you have just absorbed, the activation that has occurred within you, the event that caused heaven itself to pause in recognition. It did not commence today. Its origins trace back to the very moment of your formation. Every trial that has subsequently marked your path was not a divine punishment. Every perceived delay was not an act of abandonment. Every closed door was not a personal rejection. All of it, every single experience, was meticulously designed preparation for the specific spiritual weight and divine responsibility you were intrinsically engineered to carry. God does not pause at your activation out of surprise or astonishment. He pauses because something he has been patiently cultivating, nurturing and refining over years, often in hiddenness, has finally reached its divinely appointed culmination. Consider a seed that has lain dormant underground, immersed in darkness, silence, and what felt like utter emptiness, and then, without apparent warning, it breaches the surface. The soil does not claim credit for the blossoming flower. The surrounding darkness does not boast of the breakthrough. The seed simply fulfilled its inherent design, in the precise season for which it was always intended. You are that seed, and this, unequivocally, is your season. Now, place your hand gently over your heart and join me in this powerful declaration. I release every agreement I have ever made with the lie that has held me captive. I release the survival identity I constructed to navigate pain that was never intended to define me. I release the deep-seated fear of being seen, of being called, of being utilized for a purpose far greater than I currently comprehend. I now receive with profound gratitude the liberating truth that I was chosen before my earthly form was even conceived, prepared long before my trials began, and strategically positioned long before I could perceive the intricate beauty of the divine plan. I declare with unwavering conviction that the activation stirring within me is real, it is divinely orchestrated, and it is absolutely irreversible. I will no longer shrink back, seeking to preserve the comfort of others, or even the familiar comfort of my former self. I step forward now, not out of the misguided belief that I possess all the answers, but with the absolute certainty that the one who sent me holds them all. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not too late. I am precisely where I am intended to be, in the exact season for which I was meticulously designed, stepping into the specific assignment that heaven has been eagerly awaiting my reception. If this message has resonated deeply within you today, igniting something profound, do not allow this sacred encounter to conclude here. Share it with another soul who desperately needs to understand that the burdens they carry are not a curse, but a divine calling in disguise. Leave a comment below and share what specific shift occurred within you as you absorbed these truths. And if you feel the undeniable pull to delve even deeper, to continue this transformative journey, everything you require for your next steps awaits you in the first pinned comment. The revelation continues to unfold there. Remember, your assignment does not conclude with a fleeting emotional experience. It commences with a resolute decision. Make yours today. Many are called, but few receive the instructions. If your spirit is burning right now, the Chosen One's blueprint holds the roadmap God designed specifically for people like you. It includes the complete audiobook so you can carry this revelation with you wherever you go, plus a bonus ebook, Activating Your Prophet Mantle, for those who sense God is preparing them to speak with authority. Find it in the first pinned comment below, available for a limited time only.